Hello and welcome to the 2020 U.S. Toyota Figure Skating Championships. We are in Greensboro, North Carolina, inside the Greensboro Coliseum. A look inside. Yesterday we began with the ladies short program and the pairs short program, and today it's time for the ice dance. Ladies will be skating for the gold medal tonight in the free skate, but first we start with the rhythm dance. And we have here my guests, my colleagues, Mariah Nagasu, national champion, Brooke Castile, and Ben Augusto, the expert in ice dance. Ben, give us a little bit of what we should look for the rhythm dance today.
Well, guys, I'm really excited. This is my bread and butter, ice dance, my pride and joy. No, I'm really excited about this. Looking forward to this all season, really. The rhythm dance, it's the short program for ice dance called the rhythm dance because each year the International Skating Union designates a rhythm, set of rhythms, dance rhythms, and theme, and a mandatory pattern dance element. So everybody will be doing this pattern dance in the program. So this year it's the Fin Step. It's a quick step, so naturally everybody will have quick step or Charleston music in their program. And the theme is going to be musical and operetta, so we'll have a lot of music from Broadway, from musical theater. So it's really exciting, a vast array of music to choose from, and it's going to be very exciting.
Yes, and Ben, you were talking a little bit earlier off camera with me about the differences in levels and how the levels can change just from whether you actually step on an edge or whether you are leaning on an edge when you touch your foot to the ice. And it's fascinating to me because all I tried to do when we were competing was just get through your footwork sequence and that's it. You guys are so much more detailed in that regard.
Well, there's a couple of elements in this program, in the rhythm dance, that are extremely difficult to get the highest level for. That would be the pattern style step sequence and then the fin step. Okay. Both of those, in order to get that level 4 awarded, there has to be a level of perfection and precision that is just incredibly difficult to achieve. In the step sequence, all of the turns have to be perfectly executed. So not only just the required difficult turns to get the level, but then every other turn, so there can't be like a foot misplaced. Nothing can go wrong. Everything has to be just right. And then in the fin step, that first twizzle for the lady is extremely difficult. It's a rotation and a half forward outside twizzle, and it happens in a half a beat, so it's very fast tempo, and it's lightning fast, so we'll be watching for those moments.
And I think, Mariah, you said you attempted the fin step at one point, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. As a single skater, I'm looking for ways to improve, and I think ice dance is a great way to improve my skating skills, and I did the 4 little hippity-hoppities and then the little twizzle, and then my boyfriend who was teaching me, he was like, I think we should move on and try another dance. And that was the end of the fin step for me.
Basically, this is somebody who can do a triple axel, but the fin step was too challenging for you. That just tells you how difficult these things are and how you're judged on such detail and precision.
So yeah, whoever can get everything just right, be in the right place, and if they can maximize those 2 elements, that's going to really make the difference in those scores, because I think, almost everybody is capable of achieving the level 4 in the lifts, in the twizzles. They're very difficult, but we're seeing a lot of that. It's those 2, the fin step and the step sequence, that are going to separate.
And this is all while staying in character and performing and pushing your body to the limit as far as where it can go.
We have to tell a story.
And also having to be on that edge so precisely. So it's not just a technical thing, but trying to balance the technical and be safe, but also push yourself to the absolute limit you can performance-wise.
We're not allowed to have a libretto yet, but everybody's telling a story in their program too, so try to figure that out.
So the dance teams are just preparing to get on the ice for the warm-up right now, and we've all been in that situation where the 6-minute warm-up can be stressful, but there's 2 different perspectives always. We talked a little bit about one perspective is as the athlete and one perspective as the coach. So as far as we have a little thing here, let's see, what is it if you're going out there, Ben, for the rhythm dance as an athlete? What are your goals? What are your thought process in going into the 6-minute warm-up?
Well, for me, the 6-minute warm-up is actually one of the things I watch now, and I still really miss that feeling, which everybody is like, what's wrong with you? It's so crazy out there. But there's this energy of you're pent up, you're ready to go. And I think the most important thing for me is to feel my balance over the feet. I always like to get a twizzle in there to feel the rotation. And then, of course, just, dodge all the knives flying around.
And then, the same 6-minute warm-up, same thing, but then as a coach. Brooke, how do you want your athlete to do it as a coach perspective?
Yeah, as a coach, I look at the 6-minute warm-up completely differently. And now as a coach, I'm like, it really doesn't matter what you do on the warm-up. I know what my athlete's going to do based on what they do at practice at home, but as an athlete, wow, that 6 minutes really meant a lot. So looking back, my perspective has completely changed on it.
So sit back and enjoy the rhythm dance. We have a full day of skating for you, starting with the rhythm dance right here at 4:30, and then later in the evening we have the ladies skating for the gold medal and the national title. And don't forget to come right back, because after this dance we have another ice test to preview the ladies event, and then again we have a review of the ladies event. So if you have some time, come up here and take a look at us. We're right outside the main entrance in the plaza up there. But for right now, enjoy the rhythm dance. Take it away, Rusty. So continuing on Facebook Live and on the YouTube channel, U.S. Figure Skating's YouTube channel.
And here in the plaza.
And here in the plaza.
That is a nice view of where we're at in the Coliseum.
That's right. And if you're coming to watch the skating, please stop by and say hi to us. So continuing a little bit more on with the ice dance conversation, Hubble and Donahue are here defending their national title. Chalk and Bates kind of have a little bit momentum this season. Ben, can you talk a little bit about those two teams?
Yeah, this is an exciting showdown. I mean, we have these two teams, both national champions in their own right, and both incredibly talented and skilled. It's a clash of titans here, and historically, the last several years, Hubble Donahue have been the leaders. They've been the national champions. They've been carrying that mantle on the international stage. But this season, Chalk and Bates have been catching up to them. They've actually been passing them, especially in the free dance. So we're going to see a big shift, I think, when we get to the free dance. But right now, I think the momentum has gone to Chalk and Bates. They've had better results on the Grand Prix. Hubble and Donahue have really struggled. And they're incredible skaters, but their programs are not quite hitting the mark. The judges haven't responded to it. We don't quite feel the same connection with them when we watch them. And so I think this is a big opportunity for Chalk and Bates to pass them up and take back that title.
And both of them are national champions. Hubble and Donahue, of course, are the defending champions. But also on the podium last year were Hoek and Baker, who have had a season that is kind of not quite going in the direction that they want, right? They're being challenged a lot now by Carrera and Ponomarenko for the third place finish here at this championship.
Well, yeah, Hoek and Baker last season had just this incredible breakthrough. I mean, they won their first Grand Prix, they made it to the Grand Prix final, and it was really just like the sky's the limit for them. And then this season, things have not been quite the same. They've struggled. They have a great rhythm dance, disco. It's so much fun. They really pull it off. It shows their strengths. They're both incredibly talented skaters, like their technical abilities through the roof. But then in the free dance, again, they're not quite hitting the mark, and they've fallen back behind some of their training mates. We've got a team from Great Britain that's passed them up. A couple other teams that they've been beating in the past have now passed them up, and their scores have not been where they think they should be, and frankly, when I've been watching, where I thought they should be. So it opens the door now for Christine and Anthony, Carrera and Ponomarenko, to try to capitalize on that. They are always hungry. They practice so fiercely, and if they can bring the practice version of themselves onto the competition ice, it's going to be a real showdown.
And speaking of practice sessions, there was an incident, a run-in. Practice? Talk about practice?
Practice?
There was a collision yesterday between Chalk and Bates and Hoek and Baker. You can see there, and we actually saw this live, and
that was a scary
stayed down
moment.
there. Madison Chalk stayed down there a long time, and we were concerned as to whether she would get up.
And then we also saw this where this is the end of Madison and Evan's free dance, and her hooks got stuck on his blade. I guess it's a good time for that to happen in practice, and they were pretty stuck there for a few minutes.
Stuck like glue. Look at that.
That
Yeah,
is
you can tell they spent a lot of time
There's so many
together.
things I want to say right now.
What kind of sport do you get? And that just happened at Canadian Nationals last week. Piper Gillis and Paul Poirier got stuck together. Her hair got stuck on his button.
Oh my
it's
God.
just
Well, I mean, this is
other sports. It's like, oh, someone just got a concussion, getting hit by a linebacker. But we've got our skates stuck together.
Man, well, it just goes to show how close these athletes are. I mean, they really are trying to skate as one, and feet are literally touching, hair is getting caught in buttons. I mean, it's very difficult to maneuver when everything is so close all the time.
And there's so many lifts too that the guys do now in dance where the girl's blade is just on their thigh, and that is that horrible?
It's not comfortable. No, it takes a little while to get used to. But I'm glad you bring that up. Pairs, all the lifts are overhead. In ice dance, we're not allowed to lift over the head unless it's just passing through that movement. And so You're right. A lot of those difficult positions now are standing somewhere on the man's body, and a blade is a blade. And thankfully, it's not sawing, hopefully, but...
That's right. Well, as
yeah,
we saw
it's
there
difficult.
in that performance, we were joking about it a little bit now, but I can joke about it because they were not injured in that, and they got up, they continued the practice session, and they are ready to compete here. But
Yeah,
also...
sorry, I should jump in and say I spoke to their coach afterwards, and he said she's fine. It was just, a little surprising, and they train with Caitlin and Jean-Luc, so
at the time it looked a little
she'd be used to
scary.
him sliding at her and trying to take her out.
It looked scary when it happened.
Yeah, it
I
was really scary
concerned.
for us to see that.
But also, let's talk a little bit about McNamara and Carpenter. They've had some progress this season in their skating as well.
Yeah, they've had a strong showing on the Grand Prix circuit. I mean, they are now into the senior ranks. They're comfortable now in the senior ranks, and every year they're getting better and better. I thought their free dance was one of the best I've ever seen from them this year, really taking steps forward. So they're definitely in the mix as well for that sixth through fourth is like a really tight group where now it's these younger teams who have moved up from junior. They are incredible junior world champions, most of them, and just really nipping at the heels of the top three. And then we see Carrera and Ponomarenko. I mean, honestly, all of those, Carrera, Ponomarenko, Quinn and Lorraine could also be in that same group of like really trying to challenge Hawaiian and Baker for that third place spot.
Do you find that, well, I noticed this watching the whole Grand Prix circuit this year, that because Carrera and Ponomarenko aren't in the Montreal camp, I find it almost refreshing to watch them because their choreography is much different. It's much freer. It's not as contained and precise. Do you find that that's going to help them here because the other top three teams are in Montreal, so they set themselves apart a little bit?
Well, yeah, I think it's important to stand out from the crowd, and I think the Montreal teams do an amazing job of being very unique themselves, but I think there's maybe a different energy. I mean, Christine and Anthony absolutely did. They just go out and attack, which I find very exciting. And that's something that I've actually always loved about Chalk and Bates, is they just have this attack and this energy when they perform that in the past got them into trouble because they might make mistakes, kind of like we saw Mariah Bell full pony whip and she goes down on the on the bracket. And so Christine and Anthony really go for it. And they have unfortunately had little errors here and there because of that attack and maybe not quite finding that balance, but I think they're getting better and better, and we'll really see if they can ride that edge.
We also had one of our fans on Facebook Live was asking a question. I think this might be good for you too, Mariah. Is that he was asking about why do skaters wear their competitive costumes during practice?
Ooh, I think for duos, it's always great to make sure that everything is in order and you're not going to get caught on things, because in practice we're always wearing our athleisure wear. And so I mean, as a single skater, I just like to wear it just to make sure that the skirt isn't going to get caught on anything, that it's comfortable, that I know what it feels like.
And some people, well, as you said, when you're skating, I mean, I'd imagine I didn't wear dresses much when I was skating, but when you're out there, I'd imagine when you have that weight, it's a different feeling. You're usually in like Lycra and tight-fitting stuff, and now you have a little bit more weight to it. Sometimes there's a little bit more flow to it. It's different. Were you one that actually practiced in your skating costume the day before the competition?
Oh,
because some do,
actually,
some don't.
I
didn't.
would wear my dress at least once a week. We would do something called Fire and Ice, and we would simulate competition. And so we would get a 6-minute warm-up, a random draw, and Tom would announce us as Mariah Nagasu representing the United States of America, and I would envision myself exactly in that voice, in whatever arena I was going to be, because for the most part we know what the arenas will look like, or we can look it up on YouTube. And so for me, that mental training was really important for me, because I was good at the training, and it's 70% mental when you get to competition. And so I had to have to really train for whatever was going to happen.
And I mean, I want to jump in on that costume thing because
you wore yours to dinner every night out in public.
That you have to be comfortable. You have to live it. I once had an Elvis costume.
I remember it well.
I mean, it was fantastic. But there
Ben
was
Augusto
so many
costume.
stones on that thing. It must have weighed 30 pounds.
How many pounds of hairspray did you have to wear?
Oh, gosh, I can't even tell. Bottles upon bottles. I put a hole in the ozone myself. But the weight of the costume really makes a difference. And I remember there were these giant stones down on the bell bottom, because of course I had to have bell bottoms, and it was these giant stones at the bottom. And when the first time I tried it, I went and did a twizzle sequence, and it was so heavy, it was pulling my leg out of the circle. I was like, I can't twizzle in this, so we had to remove the big stone. So it's really important to make sure you've done everything, you practice in it, you feel comfortable, and you're ready to go.
Nice. So a little bit back to the rhythm dance. Let's take a look at the season scores for the top teams and how they did on the Grand Prix circuit this season. You see Hubble and Donahue had the highest score in the rhythm dance. Chalk and Bates not too far behind there, but you'll notice Ponomarenko and Baker, only about a point separates their season best. So it will be interesting then to see what the difference between first and second will be here, which brings us to our own predictions. We know the rhythm dance is going to be close. I believe it's going to be very tight between Hubble, Donahue, and Chalk and Bates. And so my question to you guys is, what is the score difference going to be between first and second place? You don't even have to tell me who's going to win, who's going to be second.
Yeah.
In this case, but what's the score difference going to be? We all have our ideas. 3, 2, 1. 0.78 is me, 0.55 Mirai, 0.67, and ooh, Ben, a giant 1.27 differential between first and second place.
Well, I think we all know who's gunning for first and second, like the 1-2. We just don't know quite how it's going to play out. I love Maddie and Zach, but sometimes their nerves get the best of them, and watching them live, you see how much they push and their power, and that gets the best of them sometimes, so you never know what to expect from them. But I love them, and so I definitely hope that they'll be the leaders. I think they will, but you never know. Maddie and Evan have really improved this season, and I mean, I'm biased because I tour with them, and so it's hard to say. But
there's no subjectivity in dance. What are you talking about? You can't say that. Well, you know, a couple of years ago, I would have really been nervous with Hubble and Donahue, because really they were. You never knew what was going to happen if Zach was just going to like go and barreling into a twizzle and then just launch himself into a horrific crash. But you know, and it was exciting, but it was really you're on the edge of your seat. I think in the last year they've really found a much better mental approach, been much more consistent. So now it's going to be who can be as precise as possible and get the maximum points.
Okay, so let's take a look at the rundown and the schedule for today. Still to come, we have another ice desk right before the ladies' event, and then the actual ladies' event will skate at 7:25 p.m. for the gold medal in the U.S. national title, and then back here for the ice desk. So please come back and take a look. Right now, enjoy the rhythm dance right here in the Greensboro Coliseum at the 2020 Toyota U.S. Figure Skating Championships. See you soon.